When I watched Naruto for the first time, I assumed that the Leaf Village was a place that had existed for a long time in universe. They even etched their faces onto the mounts of the village, so I assumed that, yeah, maybe these guys are around here for a long time. And then we had the Hiruzen versus Tobirama and Hashirama fight in the Chunin exams, which really shook that belief that I had. And that's because we found out that Hashirama and Tobirama were about the same age and brothers. We didn't know that was the case. I've always assumed that Hashirama was much older than Tobirama, that maybe he was even his dad or his grandfather or something. But no, it turns out that they are both pretty much the same age. We see that they are there training Sarutobi and doing all that kind of stuff in the flashbacks for that fight. And that was essentially the first time I figured, wait, so that means the Leaf Village isn't that old after all. At first I was a little disappointed. I thought that such a powerful organization should be old, should be a little wise, if that makes any sense. Old cities and places and stories tend to be more epic and hold more significance in the world. But the Leaf Village, and to an extent all other major ninja villages being young, is something extremely interesting in the Narutoverse. To put things into perspective, we don't know exactly how old the Leaf Village is. It's about 70 years, give it or take. To get a rough estimate of the village's age, we just have to look at the Hokages who led the village. First we get Hashirama. We don't know exactly how long Hashirama was the first Hokage for. It was long enough for him to have Tsunade as a granddaughter when he was still pretty young. I mean, we see Hashirama carrying Tsunade, and Hashirama looked okay, man. He didn't look old at all. Actually, he looked the same. So either Hashirama doesn't age, or he died kinda young and had children pretty young too. We know that Hashirama died during the first Great Ninja War. We just don't know how it happened, but we can assume he probably ruled for about 5 to 10 years at most. We then get Tobirama, and we know Tobirama didn't rule for very long at all, because Tobirama also died in the first Great Ninja War, the same war that killed Hashirama. And yes, we don't know exactly how long that war was, but we know that wars tend to be very fast in the Narutoverse. The fourth Great Ninja War literally lasted for 2 days in universe. So yeah, sure, the first Great Ninja War was probably slower than that, but I don't see it being over a year long. So yeah, that gives us, what, 10, 11 years at most? And then we get Hiruzen, the third Hokage, which was the longest Hokage to rule over the village. We can see that when Tobirama gave him the title of Hokage prior to his death, Hiruzen was pretty young. He was actually younger there than when he started teaching Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru. We also don't know exactly how old he was in that time, but we know one thing. Hiruzen died at 69 years old. So if we assume he was about 20 when he became the Hokage, which I believe to be a fair estimate, just look at his face, he doesn't look old at all, he looks much younger than characters like Kakashi and Guy in the beginning of the series. Of course there's Minato in the middle of all of that, but Minato literally ruled over for like a year before the Nine Tails attacked and all that, and he had to sacrifice himself, so he didn't rule for very long. Hiruzen actually ruled for more time than anyone else. And now that I think about it, it's actually way less than 70 years when the series starts. The Leaf Village is even younger than that. It's about, what, 50, 60 years old at most? I think it's fair to say that the Leaf Village was 50 years old in the beginning of the series. When we get to Naruto Shippuden, we are introduced to concepts of characters like Madura that we figure were alive way back then, but actually no, it wasn't that long ago. And you can look at this 2 ways, really. First, well, it's not that exciting because it's cooler when things are old and they are epic, like, for example, in Lord of the Rings, when things are just like thousands of years old. But then, if you think about it, the Shinobi system and the village system that Hashirama essentially created is a very new thing. It's almost an experience experiment that Hashirama and Madura, coming together with their clans, were willing to try to save the lives of the kids that were fighting in the battlefield. And it makes sense for this very young system to have problems. Obviously, the Naruto world is imperfect. We can see that in the very first arc in the Land of Waves, where Gato, this mafia guy, manages to blackmail an entire nation into not finishing a bridge just because he could get money out of it. Ideally, things like that wouldn't happen in a more developed governmental system. And when a system like this is young and has problems, it's interesting to see how the characters in the system are gonna react to it. Are they gonna try to fix the system? Are they just gonna roll with it? That's an interesting question. A question that unfortunately wasn't really addressed that much in the series, but still, it's interesting to pose it. In the end, Naruto manages to bring peace, and the cooperation between the villages definitely increases after the war arc, and that's probably Hashirama's ultimate goal. That's what he wanted. We can even see that in the past, he reunited all 5 Kages and tried to make them their allies, but, well, of course, there was a lot of squabbles. So, a real alliance and cooperation never really happened up until the 4th Great Ninja War, when all nations combined their powers and then found this cooperation they needed. And maybe moving forward in the story, this system is eventually going to change. Maybe there's even going to be a democracy. The Hokages, which are the leaders of the villages, are appointed by the feudal lord and the other members of the village council. I mean, put yourself in the shoes of your average Leaf Village citizen. The 3rd Hokage has just died. He's been the Hokage forever, maybe for your entire life, ever since you were born in the Leaf Village. And yeah, he's the Hokage and then he dies, very sad. And then they come up with this new chick, this Tsunade, who was in the village like a decade or so ago, and you barely remember her, and she has a really bad reputation of losing money while betting and drinking very heavily. Would you like that? I mean, it sounds pretty awful when you put it that way, doesn't it? Would you like your country to be run by someone who was in a foreign nation wasting their money away in betting schemes and casinos and drinking heavily? I wouldn't want to do that, even if that person, that future president of your country, was a very competent person in the past. So, yeah, the Leaf Village people had their reasons not to really like Tsunade being the new Hokage. Still, Tsunade was a very good Hokage. I'm not here to throw any shade on her. I'm just trying to put myself in their shoes here. Though, it would be weird for them to vote on anyone to become the Hokage because, well, the Hokage's chosen because of their strength and charisma and all that, but it's not anyone that can become a Hokage, obviously. It's not like being the president of a nation. You have to be powerful enough to defend the village with your own strength. But it's just funny to imagine that. Oh, who's gonna be our new Hokage? Oh, it's a drunk 50-year-old that lost $1 billion in a casino last night. It's gonna be very good. At least she's good with the hospital thing there. Maybe our healthcare is gonna get better, but still, I don't know, man. She's shady. And Kakashi was a Hokage for much longer than most. He was Hokage for about 10 years or so. People don't realize that the time skip between Naruto and Boruto is pretty extensive. And Naruto became the Hokage very recently if you take into account the Boruto timeline. So Kakashi was a Hokage for a longer period than Minato and Tobirama combined. And that's the weird thing, when you accept the Hokage position, the people in the village don't really know how long you're gonna stay there. You can stay there for 40 years like Hiruzen did, or 2 days like Danzo did, and the people were just gonna have to, yeah, okay, I guess this guy's the Hokage now, man, you gotta do what you gotta do. Naruto himself has been the Hokage for a year at most in the Boruto timelines. So time in Naruto is something quite strange, if you think about it. But anyway, tell me in the comments down below another curiosity that you have about time and years and whatever else in the Narutoverse. Watch this other video right here for more entertaining content, subscribe to the channel, and like this video too to help me with the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for watching.